Good morning. The second here. I'm staring the pot on TV there, talking about Greenland. I don't hear any booze yet, but I turned it off. Anyway, market's in a correction mode. Violated major support. Let's get the charts up here. So we'll be covering this in more detail tomorrow and today in MT Live, which is at 12 o'clock. Yes, the president is speaking. All right, so charts are up. S&P 500. Spiders here. So major support we define as a low prior to a higher high. And as everybody knows, I guess it's one of the few things that are agreed upon when it comes to technical analysis, that an uptrend is defined by higher highs and higher lows, and vice versa in a downtrend. So if prices close below the low prior to a higher high, the uptrend is broken by definition. And that's what happened yesterday. The uptrend in the S&P 500 was broken. So next step in the process is, where's the next one? And you look to the left and you see it's here. So here's the good part of this correction that began, is that when you have multiple reference points, swing lows, major support, relatively close together, the next stopping point isn't that far away versus a void. And so here prices broke down, and as markets sometimes do, this was lower high, lower low. It violated this marginally. You can see by a few pennies, then just ripped right back up again. Sometimes that happens, but we have other concepts to guide us when such things happen, not to get stuck in the past. So today, we'd assume today or at some point, it's going to come down here and test this low. It's reasonable to think that, and maybe lower. But here, this is the void. So will it stop here and reverse back up, or is it going to continue to go down? We're just going to have to see what happens. But when it gets here, it's come from the gap down, which was relatively large, to where it ended yesterday, and it made attempts to turn up yesterday. Right from the get-go, you can see here on the 5-minute chart, it took out the high of the day and it was reasonable. Well, let's go up there and test something. And no, it started jiggling and jiggling and jiggling. And you see all the pivot highs and pivot lows relatively close together. And then coming down there just wasn't a good thing. When it goes sideways like that, if it's going to go up, it's supposed to break out to the upside and do that. And you can see the little red box over here. This was advancers minus decliners. And the main focus intraday when we look at that is its trend. So, a deeply negative number is one piece of information to say, hey, you know what, this selling today, it's pretty large or powerful. But sometimes in a situation like this for us as day traders, active traders, they can be at a minus 1,500 or so. And it was lower than that at one point. And it starts trending up. And then, just going from, say, 1,500 to a minus 200 could be a nice intraday trend for day traders, even though it's still a negative number. So this is one piece of information that gives us some guidance intraday based on the number and its trend. So where are things right now? Well, they're a little bit lower. Not too much lower, but down there at yesterday's low. And so now we go into today with a bias of, I think it's likely it's going to come down there. And then we just continue to monitor the trend intraday, to start bottoming on a shorter time frame. Where's resistance? Is it close together? And it doesn't matter whether it's, the spiders or, XYZ, you know, these aren't high probability patterns to trade long or short, not short just yet, right? You don't have a pattern yet, but probability is, 65-minute downtrend, major support down there. If you want to trade long, ideally, I have to put more data on there, but you get what I mean, um, down there around that 670 level. Just got some room to get down there. And I've got it marked off. To get down there, that is where there'll be more buyers, just based on that. And so whether there's a 100 MA, which is here's the 20 MA on the weekly, you can see where the 100 is, same as the 100. It's just above that. So give that some respect, subjective, but somewhere in here, that's where most are going to be looking to get long intraday, and maybe it turns around, gets bigger. And so we're going to have to assess that on a day by day, week by week basis and see where this correction goes and check our market internals and so on. All right. So with that being said, I love it, Jerry. And you know what? I was chatting with Dan before. Those in social media in the green room, Jerry saying that he's ripping EU a new one. They deserve it, man. Look, started with Obama, continued with Biden. EU was on board. They were taking the world apart. Green Deal, trannies in kids' classrooms, all sorts of weird stuff that I think anybody with a reasonable morals and point of mind would think this is insane what's going on, unimaginable. So the corruption is unbelievable, unchecked. And so I think to a certain extent, we went from one level of insanity to some turmoil, and it's not over. Change is not easy. But anyway, let's stick to the stock market. Average true range is opened up to 74 strike handles, and major support is down here. These are the numbers for today, and this one didn't change from yesterday. So while the markets are down a little bit here, pre-market, so I guess unchanged, give or take, the bets that the market would crash with the put strike way down there yesterday was unreasonable. And so this came down a little bit. And so it's going to open around here in the middle of the range. And there's economic news coming tomorrow that could move the markets. Markets are doing nothing, probably catching their breath. And we'll just see how the day unfolds. It's not at a destination yet. So, and what would trigger it going down there? Probably nothing more than fewer buyers willing to step up until it gets down there. Okay, let's see where the Qs are. And it was down a little bit lower, on its way down there. And so what could stop it from going down there? Well, a whole number. Right? Traders are going to be looking at a whole number. Yesterday was pointed out in the room, some level there was a VWAP, what it stopped at, volume weighted average price, and then it continued. So there are these things that traders put on charts, Fibonacci lines, trend lines, and all the trend line traders. I was like, oh, they're going to have to redraw some of those things. And, here to here, maybe, all those imaginary lines connecting dots. But major support is down here. So you got a whole number. it's below the 100. Right? There's the 20. The blue line there is the 20 on the weekly, equal to the 100 on the daily. And it cut through that yesterday. You can see the cursor on the daily charts. And so overnight, lower high, lower low, coming up to resistance, and so on. We continue to monitor. Right? There's the cues popping up a little bit of a wider bar there. The wider bar that happened yesterday just rolled back over again. It was a good attempt to try and go up yesterday, and it was pretty convincing. And then, we have a little saying: sometimes things go down because they didn't go up. And the initial gap down got bought and acted pretty well. Qs were holding above the day's low when the spiders broke it, and then things moved back up again. And then, no, 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 may as well sell. And it started grinding down and then continued. So next major support is down there at 600. It's a whole number. So you want to set an alert maybe a little bit above that with a bias that it's going to get down there at some point, and buyers will show up. All right, let's look at the Russell. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that held up yesterday and reasonably well. Look at that pop. So I don't know what's going on, but that is a nice little pop. It's an inside day, right? So I'm looking at this 5-minute chart, and that is an impressive move on a 5-minute chart. But it's an inside day, and this had this really powerful move up. So it's reasonable to think this is susceptible to pulling back. You look at the 65-minute, and so far it's just holding that support area, that congestion area there. And President Trump says Greenland purchase would enhance NATO. Okay. He won't attack NATO. Greenland. He might attack NATO, but not Greenland. All right. So some news that's coming out. Right. Greenland is sitting undefended, is a key strategic location, says seeking immediate negotiations to discuss acquisition. All right. So look, we all been through this playbook with Trump making markets crazy, and then the taco trades and backing off. So let's see how things unfold today. It'll be telling. All right. Well, buddy, and what do they? I heard Greenland has like 50,000 residents. They're not going to fight with anybody, but Europe saying they're going to do something. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, EU and the United States saying they're going to do this or that. Yeah. All right. So anyway, mid caps not moving much here. Diamonds, held that gap area. There was an unfilled gap here, give or take, popping up a little bit. And major support is down there near the rising 50. So we got a moving average in alignment with that. And whatever's going on here in the short term, unless it creates some support, we get some new pattern. The assumption is it's going down regardless of what happens in the short term, because that's where the high probability area is, where there's going to be buyers. All right, quickly, I hand it over to Dan. Crude oil, stable. It's okay. It's broken its downtrend. Pivots over there to the left. And Bitcoin, that was a bit disappointing, huh? But this is what happens when markets get pushed around by news. It was bottoming out. We were talking about that. It seemed like forever. It was a month or two. It broke out. Now it's back down. Uncertainty. Leave it alone. Let's see how it plays out. Ethereum, big nasty bar down yesterday. Major support levels down here. Big bar in development mode. We're just going to have to see how this plays out here. All right. 90,000 for Bitcoin. Well, it's under that now. It's under that now. But, you've got this big support down here. If it closes below that, one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to rip right back up again and break down failure, or it's heading considerably lower. I don't know. Nobody knows right now. See a mess like that, it communicates uncertainty. That's what it's telling us. Just stay the hell away until we gather more information. All right. Gold is up again, almost touching 4,900, maybe on its way to 5,000. Silver is down a little bit, but in a beautiful uptrend, getting a little extended there. And other than that, you can look around and see problems. There's Netflix, right, down considerably. At some point, you would imagine that's going to be a buy. Uh, NVIDIA, the CEO was talking on Davos about what a great year it's going to be. Well, maybe so. The charts do not support that. And if this breaks this green area, look at that Head and Shoulders top. If it breaks this, something significant's going on, right, in chip world and AI. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of that. And other than that, I shall hand it over to Dan. Today, 12 o'clock, we'll go deeper into sectors and broader markets. Last but not least, wow, interest rates going up. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, a lot to talk about today with Davos and yields and wars and gas. And natural gas took off again today. Can you all hear me?
I hear you, Dan.
All right, I saw something that said you're now muted. Right. This was one we entered yesterday into the close. I just posted it. But yeah, look at UNG again. Look at the volume on that thing yesterday. And now it's gapping up again. Alarms. I always look at alarms first. NLR. We're in this in the ETF letter. That is a beautiful 15-minute chart. That kind of looks like a 3-iron heading up to $160 to me. I don't play golf, but you know what I mean by 3-iron means that's just what this pattern looks where it's headed. Now BTG with gold up. Alex and I bought some calls on this yesterday and gap breakout. I really like this weekly. That's a catch-up trade. Target up here somewhere, 430, whatever. The gold is up again, gapping all-time highs. We're in this in our ETF letter also. Looks great. Materials for the precious mineral stocks were moving yesterday. My USAR alarm just went off. We're in this one already from yesterday. So the new alarm 2015. UAMI alarm. This is one I was watching yesterday. It's not as clean, but this is a bear sandwich, and that's a closing breakout. And the logical target on this is this gap fill. Off yesterday's low. Might pop on, but that's too extended. I think that's it on alarms. Yeah, that was yesterday. Kemper. Let's go to earnings now first. Netflix. Dude, I was hoping, when we do these counter trend from gaps. Bigger the gap, the better. This thing was hovering around $80. Um, so it's rallied $2 here. Let's watch that for a put spread. It's not a gap and snap pattern because this is so controlled. Gap and snaps happen from climbos, but well, it's just down a lot. And this could be a short-term exhaustion and the premiums are going to be capped. Tim's asking about AMD over yesterday's high. Yeah, we were looking at that as a put spread yesterday. Had it close strong, but then with the topping tail, I held off. I personally would not buy over yesterday's high because your stop is too big and that would be a horrible entry for a day trade. I'd prefer an inside day or two. Let it settle down, Tim. A-Lab, it's just messy. It's more of a put spread candidate. The 170s, if there's any premium there. Tim, I already posted Oklo, so yes. Oklo looks substantially better than these two. Let me check 170s. Well, there's good juice here, Tim. 170s for Friday, 191 by 234. So a little spready, but yeah, I'll watch that for a put spread. Yeah, Oklo, I just posted while Greg was talking. So it's a bottoming pattern, broke out. Sloppy buy setup, but I saw it moving this morning. It's a pseudo 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. It's deep, so it's not a textbook 1, 2, 3. But if this one were to get over yesterday's high, which is 97, I said wait 10 minutes and then buy a half lot over 97. Now that's a topping tail I would use for an entry, whereas AMD, I explained to you why I wouldn't, because this topping tail is what's creating the turn. Freeze alarm. That's a climb out. Stabilization yesterday. Nice 15. So that's on my, that's start off with a day trade. That looks great. Put that in a window. That's a fantastic looking day trade pattern. Ideally, it hits in 10 minutes. I don't know what Trump was saying to make that market pop like that for almost 15 minutes. Let's go back to earnings here. So that's Netflix. FNB 1774. Gap's too big, but bullish. MDT alarm just went off. We're long this. I will reset the alarms higher. 950. UAL 130. It's just a mess. Interactive Broker needs to settle down. Bank of Ozark, Regional Bank, 46, bearish gap. Zion, another bank opening flat, no pattern. It just trades chaotically, but looks like another regional bank. The entry would be over yesterday's high. We'll come back to it. NPB, nothing. Fergus 42, big old bullish gap, but excessive. This one I'll set an alarm 6850. That looks great. That could be a breakout. Look at the weekly is a textbook 1, 2, 3. See the wide range bar 2 weeks ago and then inside bar last week. That's 6850 alarm. Another regional bank. It's strong, but I like the other one a lot better. J&J's was dragging down the Dow this morning. That was the biggest negative. Now the other negatives are all, less than $1. So the market's really turned around pre-market, at least for maybe a tradable day trade bounce. J&J 212. It's right in the middle of this move. Maybe a condor for Friday. Oh, nothing. PLD strong 134 though, no pattern. 222 gapping down here. We'll come back, see if buyers step up with that support. That's rolling over. Travelers swapping around. Maybe 30-minute high put spread. Halliburton swapping around. I see oil though. I immediately look up at my oil ETFs and they're all up. So possible 30-minute high, Halliburton. 594. Man, that thing's been on a tear. That's not a novice gap, but there's no pattern to do anything with it. CFG, that could be a breakout. Gap in a 62, put that on the list. Alley, a lot of regional banks here. That still looks lower. OMB, another bullish one, but it has to, it's just going sideways. Nothing to do with it. This one, I considered put spread, but there was no weeklies, and it was spreading. Yeah, so it's negating the gap, which is good. So that might be a 30-minute high. MMYT. Two more here. Yeah, I know a lot of Venezuela stuff going on there. This is a bullish pattern, PKU. Problem is the gap's too big. Look, small little breakdown failure, broke out, small pullback. That would have been a nice continuation. But gap's too big. And finally, decom. So perfect timing. Looks like it's gapping up to 32, so the gap's too big. Another regional bank. Apple-led alarm. Yeah, Apple-led. I had an alarm. Look, daily, weekly, monthly are bullish. If this sort of closed like this, then you buy over the high of these three bars. That looks good. Apple-led. Let me check put spreads too. Maybe the 34s for Friday. 30 by 84 is the problem. So we gotta let it simmer down, but that's a nice pattern. All right, Met C. We're not in this, but I had an alarm as a bottoming pattern, another resource, so that could be a 30-minute high. Medtronic looks great now. Retest, new low reversal. W bottom now. That looks fantastic. We can move stop now. Went against us after we entered. Rig T up alarm.
AMD breaking out above 3 days. Try a pullback. Popped a lot already.
Done it. Finally, I've instructed government-backed institutions to purchase up to $200 billion in mortgage bonds to bring down.
Jemiah up alarm. We were talking about that yesterday.
For chairman in the not too distant future, I think he'll do a very good job. They gave away some of it.
Aqua alarm, MDB, low alarm. Sam, that was on your list, Sam, MDB, check it out. Alarm went off. FMC. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, gapping over this. And finally, let me spread it out. Yeah, yeah, I'll give it. Stop yesterday's low. So the high would be 1582. A lot of alarms going off. ACDC, yeah, that was on my list from yesterday. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, yesterday I mentioned that. UAMI, yeah, mentioned that pre-market. I like it. I think it's headed for the gap fill. Thomas, looks good. I love the 15. Yep, you can buy that. Stop yesterday's low. FMC just hit 1583. Yep, that looks good. SCS. It's because I don't like overlapping bars unless it's a put spread. But that's sure a something bar right now. Val, yeah, that's a nice void. Yeah, getting over that red bar, so it's a something oil's flying. So good sector. Look at OIH. I mentioned OIH back here with this little 180 buy setup. XOP is a gap breakout. That'd be a no-brainer put spread, but spreads are nuts. All right, Oklo, see why I said wait 10 minutes? And say now I don't want to buy over today's high because then it'd be too excessive. So I'm gonna just stay hold off. Let me check put spread. We would do the 89 put spread for Friday. The spreads are nuts. 144 by 205. What about the 87, 80, 87, 83? It's 62. All right, I'm not gonna rush into it. Hey, Netflix bottom right, I forgot about. I'm just curious. It's not a pattern that I would do it right now, unless it were Friday. Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, weak. We're at the day's low, taking out yesterday's low. I'm just curious, not doing it. The 80s are only 35 cents anyway. I would not take that bet at all. Yeah, look at Mags. At yesterday's low. Microsoft. Apple. Wow, that's a deep retracement on Amazon. Meta still looks lower. Tesla has a bear 1, 2, 3. If it closes like that, so is Nvidia. Those both look bad. Hey, Intuit finally alarm. That could be a 30-minute high put spread. Puts. I would definitely wait 30 minutes. So 520s. Spreads are nuts. Hey. We could buy it as a climber. Not put spread. Curve. Stopped out. Put spread. We have the 86, 81. I did move it to 30-minute low on both of these.